Welcome back to the Pig Trail Show. It is time for our Hog Hoops report with Kevin McPherson. And Kevin, Arkansas has won both of their exhibition games, and the next one is for real. But first, what have you seen from the Razorbacks through those first two matchups with East Central and North Texas?
It's interesting, Tara. It's a great question because it's all about perspective. Arkansas comes into the season with preseason rankings 16th in the AP, 15th in coaches poll. So with exhibition games, you kind of expect a smoother ride than
Right.
Arkansas's had. I mean, they've struggled at times in both games. I think Arkansas cleaned some things up in the second exhibition game against North Texas, but in both cases, Arkansas was fighting for a win in the closing minutes of each game, and that's not really how you project yourself coming into a regular season in exhibition games. But at the same time, if you're going to have struggles, you'd rather do it in the exhibition season when it doesn't count. And at the end of the day, Arkansas did come away 2-0 in those games, 3-0 if you count the red-white game. But I think the biggest thing for me right now are the injuries. Arkansas was without players throughout the exhibition season, including the red-white game. Guys were on limited minutes. Musselman, substituted freely, which is not typically what he does. When it becomes the real thing, there'll be a tighter rotation. So that probably explains some of it. But I think another part of this is we saw what Musselman did a year ago with roster makeover and ended up building a strong team. We know that final top 10 ranking nationally in the Elite Eight. But you had guys that transferred in that were mostly role players who understood their roles. The ball everything didn't have to go through them from an offensive standpoint when you look at scoring the ball. Jalen Tate, for example, being a lead guard that ran the team. Justin Smith being a rebounder and a glue guy and a guy that you didn't have to run offense for. He got his organically through blue-collar plays. The transfers this year are all very good individual players, but you look at Chris Likes and guys like Stanley Umide and Chris Likes, those are guys that are used to having the ball and the offense running through them from a scoring standpoint. And I think part of what Arkansas has struggled with when you look at the collective 23 turnovers and only 20 assists in the two exhibition games, part of that is guys figuring out when do I take shots and when do I move the ball so that it promotes good ball movement, it makes the defense work harder, and it gets better looks for teammates. Devo Davis, playing off the ball last year, preseason All-SEC, is a guy that has struggled running the team at times. His numbers look good when you look at it overall, scoring and some things, but he's had his struggle moments, especially when you look at assists to turnovers and directing the offense. Arkansas's best really floored leadership was probably the first half against North Texas when KK Robinson came in off the bench and gave him 13 good minutes, led the team with four assists. All of those were in the first half, by the way, ended up with 4 rebounds, a steal. He drew an offensive foul, but he did some good things in that first half, didn't play as much in the second half when Arkansas struggled against North Texas. So those are some things that stand out right now. Jalen Williams didn't play because of back spasms against North Texas. He's Arkansas's volume rebounder. Arkansas gets beat. They're negative 14 on the glass. They're minus 14 on the glass against North Texas. Jalen Williams played in the previous exhibition game. Arkansas was +8 on the glass. So some of these problems, when you're looking at these games, are due to personnel. Trey Wade played for the first time against North Texas and gave Arkansas some good minutes. But when I really look at it, it's who's going to run this team from a point guard standpoint, ball movement, guys figuring out roles and how they fit in. And then when we look at shooting the ball, Arkansas's had a luxury with Isaiah Joe 2 years ago in Eric Musselman's first season, Moses Moody last year, guys that could simply catch and shoot from three and give you some production there. Arkansas right now doesn't have catch and shoot guys that figure into the top part of the rotation. Guys are used to creating off the bounce. Chris Likes, JD Note, who I haven't even talked about yet, led Arkansas with 21 points last night, 4 of 7 from 3. But Arkansas has been streaky. If you look at the first exhibition game, only 2 of 16 from distance against North Texas, a strong first half, 7 of 12, well over 50%. But they were 0 of 6 in the second half. So if you go back and break it down, Arkansas's only shot the ball well from distance in one half in 2 exhibition games. So Arkansas's got some things to work on. Jackson Robinson, the talented transfer sophomore, is a guy that can stretch the floor, but 0 of 5 in the 2 exhibition games. We'll see how his confidence and opportunities are moving forward. But your volume guys from 3 are Likes and Note, and percentage-wise, they've been okay. But those guys, again, are not necessarily comfortable with catch and shoot. They want to create off the bounce. And typically when that happens, you're going to see some up and down with percentages and efficiency.
Well, like you mentioned, injuries are definitely a concern before the season opener. But there are other things that also still need to be addressed, I think, before they start their season officially. So, what do you want to see from them come that first game?
Well, you can win in basketball without a true point guard. Let's go back to Jalen Tate, not a natural point guard, but his mentality was facilitator first. He wasn't looking necessarily to shoot the ball. Now, in certain matchups, he was able to provide scoring for Arkansas, but really he got everybody the ball in places that they were comfortable getting looks based on the strengths of their games, and he just ran the team, directing traffic, different things. Arkansas needs that from somebody. And again, you've got, when you look at Devo Davis, Chris Likes, JD Note, so much of their on the ball um, talent is about going and getting a bucket. And that feel and understanding of spacing, flow on offense, and getting others involved, running the team, directing traffic, someone needs to emerge. Again, KK Robinson did a great job of that in the first half, but a guy that's missed a lot of practice time due to injuries. And we know he didn't play about the first third of the season last year because of that foot injury. So we just need to see some improvement there. Consistency shooting the ball and defending. I go back, we talked about the three-point shooting. Defensively, Arkansas struggled against East Central University, the D2 school that Arkansas beat by 3 points a week ago. Yesterday, much better. I mean, much, much better. North Texas holding that team to only 4 3-pointers on 15% efficiency was great. Arkansas built a 17-point first half lead, but over time, Arkansas had its own offensive struggles. I mentioned going 0 for 6 in the second half from three, and Mean Green got back into that game. It was a 3-point game with just under 4 minutes to go, anybody's ball game. So Arkansas's got to clean it up on, even if they've gotten better defensively, the minus 14 on the glass is probably a lot to do with Jalen Williams being out, but teams can find ways to hang around when you're inconsistent. And I think Arkansas has been disconnected a lot on both sides of the ball at times, no matter what percentages you see that look good, because at the end of the day, they've had a mountain to climb a bit in the closing minutes to make sure they came out with wins. They did that successfully. I really believe getting healthy is probably the biggest thing, Tara, and then just everybody understanding roles, getting connected, getting some floor leadership at the one, and cleaning up some of the other stuff. Arkansas is going to be probably streaky shooting from three, but they've got so many good offensive players that they'll find ways to score when they need to.
Well, Kevin, let's talk a little bit about recruiting. A guy out of the 2023 class is a four-star Chris Johnson. Did he recently get an offer from Arkansas?
As recently as the Arkansas North Texas
Yep.
game that we've been talking about, he actually took an unofficial visit. ESPN does rank him the number 28 player in the country, so he's approaching five-star status. But a 6'5" guard out of Elkins High School in Missouri City, Texas. This is a young man that, when you start talking about a Jordan Walsh who just came off the board to Arkansas a few weeks ago from the state of Texas, Johnson was paying attention to that. He said that actually raised his interest level. Arkansas coaches went out to watch him practice back in September. They've been on, he's met the entire staff via Zoom, and he's been in touch with at least 4 or 5 staff members consistently. So he finally got on campus. He got that Arkansas offer. He told me before the visit he figured he would. But the word he used about the visit was love. He used that word 5 or 6 times. I wrote about an article on hogville.net, as he recapped that visit. But he loved everything, and he was really impressed by the fan base. Here's a guy that I think is excited about Arkansas. We'll see where it goes. Class of 2023. He's a versatile guard at 6'5". Musselman loves big guards that can do multiple things on the basketball court. So the fit seems to be there, and we'll see how the courtship goes. But another high-level guy out of Texas that's on Arkansas's radar that has a strong interest in the Razorbacks.
And for good reason to have a strong interest in the Razorbacks. Looking forward to their season that they have ahead of them. Kevin, as always, thanks so much for your time and your insight. Looking forward to talking to you again next Sunday, but we'll be back with more on the Pig Trail right after the break.